If you've watched any woodworking videos here on YouTube, you've definitely seen this before. And just like all the other items today, I regret not buying this sooner. Plus, I will expose one of the tools that all YouTubers tell you to buy, but doesn't work at all. And if you stick around to the end, you'll find out a little reward where you can get one of the items in this video for free. So be on the lookout for that. Regardless of what brand you have, over the last few years, track saws have become a staple in the woodworking world. From edge joining lumber when you don't own a joiner, or the piece is just too large to safely do it by yourself, to cutting sheet goods in small spaces, and other creative tasks that couldn't be accomplished by any other tool, track saws are incredibly useful. But here's the big problem with them. Unlike a table saw where you can slide the fence to a precise measurement and, assuming that you set up and calibrated your table saw correctly, have everything be perfectly accurate, a track saw relies entirely on manual setup to work. You lay the track down and have to pray that your micro nudges get it perfectly aligned for your cut. Looking to make super accurate crosscuts on your material? You take a square to the side of the track and jimmy it back and forth until you get it to about where you want. But there's a much easier way, and that's a track saw square. I've been using this one for about 2 years and was really happy with it. That is until I picked this one up from TSO, and I can say without a doubt, this one is much better. First, it's significantly lighter, and I mean significantly. This red one is heavy and likes to flip the track if you aren't careful. Second, unlike this one that has to be slid on the track, this one from TSO simply pops on anywhere along the track, making the install super easy. Third, if you're looking to use clamps alongside the track square, this one makes you lock the clamp into the square and requires you to jostle around the angle setting to even get them in there. If you don't play that game, your square won't register against your piece, which kind of defeats the entire purpose. This one from TSO doesn't interfere with anything. Now sure, this one has an angle setting on it that could be super useful, but in the 2 years that I've had it, I've never once used anything other than 90 degrees. And last, the cost. This red one comes in at $330. This one from TSO comes in at $189. Not to mention, this has the ability to connect to their parallel guide system too, but I'll save that for another day. Everyone on YouTube has seen massive woodworking shops with every tool you can imagine and access to unlimited power with thousands of outlets. I definitely don't have that luxury. I work out of an apartment garage with one single 15 amp outlet with no access to the breaker panel. That means simple things like running my dust collector at the same time as running my table saw isn't possible. I'm sure I'm not the only one out there working in a situation like this, which is why the second item I regret not getting sooner is a portable power bank. A power bank like this B2000 SST from Yoshino allows me to run virtually all of my tools. No, I'm not limited to just charging my phone or charging my tool batteries. I mean actually running my tools. Like my planer, like my bandsaw, like my dust collector. You know, tools that require a large amount of power. And no, it's not just for 2 minutes and then it's dead. This unit allows me to perform entire milling sessions, which used to terrify me because I would constantly blow the breaker and then have to wait for the apartment maintenance to come reset everything, which was an absolute nightmare. With a portable power station like this, if I were to accidentally draw too much power, I just reset the onboard breaker and I can get back to work. Unlike lots of other portable power stations on the market, the Yoshino has solid-state technology, offering enhanced safety, stability, and performance for all your charging needs. Did you also notice that it's significantly smaller than other units you've probably seen? That's because solid-state batteries have a power-to-weight ratio up to double that of traditional lithium-ion batteries and stable performance that ensures safer operation, which means you have the power to relax, work, or live wherever life takes you, whether that's the job site or a campsite. To give you an idea of how much power this Yoshino unit packs, it can charge your smartphone 94 times, run a household fan for about a day and a half, and even a full-size household refrigerator for 7 hours, which makes it great to have on during power outages. Best of all, it charges incredibly fast, from 0 to 80% in about 45 minutes, and 0 to 100% in only 55 minutes. So when I'm not running my tools in here, I can let it charge so it's ready to rock the next time you need to power things up. So if you are in need of a portable power station, consider checking out the B2000 SST from Yoshino. Next up on the list is something that I absolutely regret not buying sooner, and that's these TSO track connectors. They allow you to connect multiple Traxol tracks together to create longer lengths with all of the most popular tracks, including Festool, Makita, Craig, PowerTech, and Triton. And what that means for you is instead of spending $465 for a 106-inch long track, you can spend $155 on another 55-inch track plus $60 on these connectors, allowing you to save $250. You're welcome. You and I both know that you aren't going to need that ridiculously long track super often, so wouldn't you rather save the $250 and have a much more manageable piece of track to move around? Now, what makes these particular track connectors better than all the other ones? It's simple. They are self-aligning. What this means is that instead of having to remember a specific sequence of events with the connectors that Festool sells, these use simple geometry to ensure that the tracks automatically align once you tighten them down. That means no need to put your saw across the tracks while trying to figure out how to tighten the Festool bars, and no need to align a super large straight edge to check if you actually got the tracks aligned. You just slip them in, tighten them down, and you're ready to go with perfectly aligned tracks. But here's one huge tip that I want to share with you. Regardless of if you get these TSO connectors, which you should, or you go with another brand, always make sure to leave a small gap between the tracks whenever you connect them. That's because while the tracks are extruded aluminum and are pretty close to being perfectly straight, they're not necessarily cut at a perfect 90-degree angle at the end. That means if you butt them up against one another, that might cause your extended track to slightly kick out of alignment. I've found that about 1/16 of an inch is good enough, and trust me, your track saw will not have any issue going over that gap. Let's face it, if you've done any amount of woodworking or DIY projects, you know that 1, they often get really, really loud, and 2, just like your spouse constantly reminds you, all of your projects take way longer than you think. If you are anything like me, you often get bored, and to fill that boredom while you work, you can listen to music, audiobooks, or my podcast, Off the Cut, which is why the third item I regret not buying sooner is a Bluetooth hearing protection. Notice that I said hearing protection and not headphones or earbuds. Hearing protection like these from Elgin are designed specifically to protect your hearing. Now you probably have AirPods like these that have noise cancellation, which means they do the same thing, right? No, they are not designed to protect your ears. New York Times even did a study on them and found that while AirPods do reduce noise, it is not enough when you're exposed to really high decibel levels like running power tools. These, on the other hand, do provide you with safe hearing protection and function virtually identical. And they're cheaper than your AirPods too. This is a model called the Rebel, which are true wireless earbuds that fit just like the AirPods you're used to wearing, but lower the volume by 23 decibels, which is a substantial difference. Concerned that you're gonna lose one of these bad boys? You can get replacements, but there are a few other models that you might like. I've picked up different models through the years, and another good option you can opt for is this Rumble model that has a lower profile and has a cord to keep everything attached. Plus, this model is about $30 cheaper too. I find these are really nice if you're someone who works in a colder environment and you're always wearing a winter hat over your ears, since they don't really protrude out at all. But if you want an even cheaper option and you're on a tight budget, no worries, there's also this Ruckus model that's not quite as streamlined, but still offers excellent hearing protection and is super comfortable to wear. And if you're someone who really likes the feeling of over-the-ear hearing protection, Elgin offers that as well with their Rampage model. And if you're interested in any of these, there are links and an additional coupon code for you down in the description. Regardless of what model you go with, Bluetooth hearing protection not only protects your ears from the danger of being around loud tools, but also lets you listen to your favorite Taylor Swift album and drowns out the sounds of your spouse asking you when you're going to complete that project that you started 3 years ago. And no, I still haven't gotten around to building that bar cart yet. Love you, Mandy. The next tool is related to a change a few of my friends have been hounding me to convert to, and I finally gave in. And that's building a workbench with all of these holes. And yes, there's a full build video coming out on how I built this, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. It's coming soon. When you make a workbench with all these holes like this, it is inevitable that occasionally you'll get drips of glue or other debris inside the holes. Or you'll run across temperature and humidity changes, which makes it impossible to get dog hole accessories out of these holes. Now that seems like a massive issue until you get this tool that I regret not buying sooner, the UJK chamfer and reamer tool. Here's what this does. You insert it into any drill, the tapered end slides into any dog hole, and there's a cutting edge on the side that removes a small amount of material, leaving you with a perfect 20mm dog hole in your workbench.
But I'm not done yet!
At the top, you'll notice a carbide insert that creates a super small bevel at the top of each dog hole. And what's the purpose of that? Well, first, it allows you to insert accessories and gadgets into your holes. Grow up. It allows you to insert accessories and gadgets into your holes easier, giving you a point of registration. Second, when you remove accessories from the holes, it prevents the top edge from tearing out and damaging the hole. Oh, bonus tip, unlike those cheap router bits that you buy on Amazon, this has a rotatable carbide insert, so if it does go dull, you can rotate it for an additional 3 brand new edges. And third, it allows you to use some bonus accessories, like another item that I regret not buying sooner, and that's one that solves something YouTubers lie to you about. You've seen these drawer liner mats on all of other people's videos, right? They claim they're perfect for sanding because they're non-slip. They hold your workpiece perfectly still without the need for any clamps. But if you've bought one hoping it would solve all of your issues, you quickly find out that just like the metal-infused copper bracelets, elbow, and knee sleeves that Brett Favre sells, they don't work at all. As soon as you start sanding, the mat slides all around your workbench, which completely defeats the purpose. But I've found a better solution. Real quick, if you want to unlock behind-the-scenes videos, free merch, and watch all of my videos before they release to the public, consider becoming a Patreon member and help me quit my day job and take this channel full-time. But as always, there's no pressure. Anyway, what I was saying, the solution to actually holding your workpiece still while sanding are these tiny anti-slip dogs. Simply pop them into the dog holes on your workbench and you've got a rock solid support that's strong enough to even move my workbench without moving the workpiece. That's pretty cool. And unlike those mats that don't work, these take up virtually zero space and you can configure them in any way you want to support small pieces, large pieces, and even weird shaped pieces too. There are tons of other awesome accessories that I've found to outfit a workbench like this, but I'll save those for a future video and let's jump into the next tool. Next up on the list is this monstrosity. And I know, it looks like something you'd find in a jigsaw trap from the Saw franchise.
I want to play a game.
But it's actually one of my most used tools and one that I absolutely regret not buying sooner. If you haven't figured it out yet, this is a flush trim bit for a router. Flush trim bits perform a super useful task in a router. They have a bearing that rides along one edge of a workpiece and then cutting edges below that are in the exact same plane, which cut whatever is in the way flush with the bearing above. thus the name flush trim bit. You can get them with the bearing on top, bearing on the bottom, or bearing on both sides, but they all perform the exact same function, just depends on what side of the workpiece you want to cut on. But there are two things that make this one different. One that is obvious, and one that is not so obvious, but more on that in a second. Sure, you can absolutely go out and buy a no-name bit off Amazon for $10 or so, but those straight knives on the side tend to cause a lot of tear out, and if you happen to go through end grain, good luck. They have a tendency to catch on wood and throw your workpiece across the shop. Instead, look for one like this that has a spiral configuration, which gives you significantly cleaner cuts, just like using a hand plane that's slightly skewed at an angle, because it shears the wood fibers instead of just brute force plowing into them. I feel like there was a good opportunity for your mom joke there. Anyway, the second reason I regret not buying this earlier is for something far, far less obvious. Get in here close. Can you see it? I get my router bits from a company called Bits and Bits. They're a US company that makes tons of their own bits and coats them in a special sauce called Astra coating. Without getting super sciencey like my buddy Suman, that special sauce allows their bits to cut faster, cleaner, and with less tear out because they stay sharper and cooler longer than any other bits. And while I don't have any yet, they just released a new version of their coating called Astra HP that provides even better performance and has a really cool iridescent color on it. Now, if this monster is super intimidating, relax. There are tons of other sizes that are a little easier to manage than something like a trim router, and there's even a coupon code for you down in the description. Sure, these massive bits have a decent price tag on them that seems like a lot for a single router bit, but trust me, if you do a lot of flush trimming, you will absolutely love them. I've had both of these bits for almost 3 years using and abusing them, and they still work like a champ. I definitely cannot say that for any of the straight router bits that I have. You can get 3 variations where they either push the wood fibers down, which is called a downcut bit, where they push the fibers up, which is called an upcut bit, or where they push the fibers in both directions, called a compression bit. The outcome depends on which side of the cut you want to truly have the best finish, and that's mostly really only applicable on delicate surfaces like veneered plywood. My suggestion, if you do have the money, I just buy the compression style and then you are all set to go. Now, one common misconception woodworkers have is that they're always really upset when they get that fresh router bit or blade. It cuts great for a period of time and then it goes dull. But here's the truth, it's not dull, it's just dirty. All of that friction generated from cutting creates heat, and the heat causes the wood fibers to build up on cutting tools, which makes them dull. What you need to do is you need to clean that off, and your blades and bits will be back to cutting like brand new. Now, I've tried some DIY solutions, and outside of making a video about it, I've never really felt like actually cleaning anything because I was too lazy to set up a station. And that's where this thing comes in. I regret not buying this massive, hideous hunk of turtle-killing plastic sooner because, man, this thing is handy. This is the micro jig cleaner thing. In essence, it's a Tupperware container that holds blade and bit cleaning solution, but there are a few special perks. On the outside, there are some accessories like this magnetic handle that attaches to your blades. And on the inside, it has a Scotch-Brite pad that quickly cleans the sides of your blades once you give this thing a little spin. And to get the front faces of each tooth, use the bristle brush on the lid and you've got yourself a perfectly clean blade without having to set anything up. As you can see, mine's super dirty because I use it a ton and I've had it for a while. All you have to do is latch the lid, throw it somewhere for a few months, and when you need to clean again, there is no setup required, which means you might actually clean those blades. Maybe. Oh, and if that wasn't good enough, there's a reservoir in the middle of the top that allows you to soak your router bits in cleaning solution, And the little discs hook up to a drill or Dremel to help you clean the bits if you're too lazy to scrub them by hand. But what do you use to clean and put inside this? I'll leave some links to solutions I've found that work well down in the description below, and we can just move on to the next item. All right, I'm gonna leave this here for a second so people who aren't watching the video think I'm still talking about this. Remember how I told you earlier that you might be able to get something for free? Well, most people skip to the end thinking that that'll be a good place to figure out the secret. But I want this to be for people who actually watch the video. So here's what I'll do. Down below, there's a link that says ostrich feathers. Click that link and you can enter to win a set of those Elgin Rebel Bluetooth hearing protection earbuds. That's it. In about 2 weeks, I'll pick a lucky viewer to get a set of those 100% for free. I'll even cover shipping anywhere in the world. That's my way of saying thank you for watching and not just skipping around. Now let's get back to business. If you've watched woodworking videos on YouTube for any period of time, you've likely seen this. This is the Pika Dry Pencil. But what makes this thing so special? Well, there's a lot of things actually. First, it's significantly thicker lead than a standard mechanical pencil. Most mechanical pencils are about 0.7 or 0.5 millimeter thick lead, which always break and is extremely annoying when you're trying to work. And I know what you're thinking, Eric, just buy those cheap carpenter pencils. They've got thick lead and they don't break. Yeah, that's true, but they're really annoying to sharpen and awkward to hold in your hand. Plus, they're not as convenient as a mechanical pencil where all you have to do is click, click to get more lead. This lead is 2.8 millimeters thick, which is virtually impossible to break, even when drawing lines across rough pieces of lumber. Second, you can pick up refills of lead in tons of different colors, from gray, white, red, yellow, and many, many more, which gives you the ability for all of your marks to stand out, regardless of the color of the material. Third, this special lead can write on anything. Really, anything. Wet, dry, oily, greasy. The special lead that comes in these allows you to write on tons of surfaces that a standard pencil doesn't. And lastly, it comes in a nifty case that allows you to clip it onto a shirt, apron, or pocket for easy storage and prevents you from stabbing yourself with exposed lead or needing to retract the lead every time you put it away. And bonus tip, the bottom side has a nifty sharpener built in, so you always have a fine point, even with super thick lead. So you've got all of the benefits of a carpenter's pencil and a standard mechanical pencil, plus different color leads and the ability to write anywhere and on anything. It's a no-brainer. Pick one of these up. In my small shop, I don't own a drill press, and most of you probably don't either. But drilling holes that are perpendicular is often really important. While this is by no means a perfect solution, I regret not buying this Craig drill guide sooner. It's $9. Yeah, $9 and it works great. After chucking up a bit in your drill, insert it into the correct hole, grow up. And the stop collar makes sure the drill bit is held perpendicular to your work surface so that you can drill all the holes you need all night long. Now, it is limited to only working with 6 different size drill bit sizes, but it's an incredible bang for the buck at only $9. Like your mom. Is it as good as a dedicated drill press? Absolutely not. But if you're someone like me that doesn't really need it very often, I would much rather have this than a big clunky drill press that rarely gets used. Bonus tip, while they do say that it has a non-slip face on it, I've found that it works much better if you can clamp it down to the work surface while you're going to town on drilling all those holes.